From orbit, the planet looked like it was burning. That was the first thing Commander Salith Vora noticed as her observation vessel slipped out of faster-than-light travel and stabilized above the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star. Flames. Long, curling lines of fire stretched across continents, glowing against the darkness of night. Plumes of smoke rose into the atmosphere in chaotic spirals. Heat signatures spiked across every sensor display. Salith's hands tightened behind her back as she stood on the bridge. "Confirm status," she ordered. Her crew moved quickly. Data streams filled the air with translucent projections, atmospheric composition, population density, energy output, electromagnetic noise. One word pulsed through all of it: humanity. Salith's jaw set. Another war. The Volari Concord had been monitoring human expansion for decades. A volatile species, innovative, emotional, prone to internal conflict. They had already fought 2 near-extinction wars in their short history and still hadn't learned restraint. Now, from orbit, it looked like they had finally destroyed themselves. Surface scans show massive heat events, an analyst reported. Urban centers affected. No orbital weapons fire detected. No fleet movements, another added. No energy signatures consistent with planetary bombardment. Salith frowned. "That makes no sense," she said. "Those fires are too widespread." Her species had studied war for millennia. She knew its signatures intimately. This was different. "Commander," the analyst said slowly, "there's something else." A new overlay appeared. Civilian evacuation patterns. Not chaotic. Coordinated. Intentional. Salith leaned forward. Zoom. The first out. As the magnification increased, details emerged. Human transport vehicles, ground and air, moved in disciplined formations. Emergency shelters activated. Energy grids rerouted to hospitals and refugee zones. This wasn't collapse. It was response. "Run atmospheric analysis again," Salith said. "What's burning?" The analyst hesitated. "Commander, it's vegetation. Controlled combustion. Large scale." Salith's eyes widened. They weren't burning cities. They were burning forests. "Why would they do that?" she asked quietly. No one answered. The Volari had strict environmental protocols. Fire was used sparingly, carefully. To deliberately ignite vast ecosystems during peacetime was unthinkable. Unless her gaze shifted to a faint, moving anomaly on the planet's dark side. A wall of heat advancing faster than any natural wildfire should. "Oh no," she whispered. The human called Ethan. The decision was immediate. "Prepare a covert descent vessel," Salith ordered. "I want ground confirmation." "Commander," her second cautioned, "direct contact violates observation protocols." Salith didn't turn. "If that planet is facing extinction," she said, "protocols are irrelevant." Minutes later, her vessel pierced the atmosphere, shields glowing faintly as it descended toward a region marked by intense activity. She landed in what humans called Northern California, though the name meant nothing to her then. The heat hit her instantly. The air was thick with smoke, ash drifting like black snow. Sirens wailed in the distance. The sky burned orange. And everywhere she looked, humans were moving. Not fleeing blindly. Organizing. Helping. Salith stepped from her craft, cloaking field shimmering around her form. Then she saw him. A lone human stood near the edge of a blazing hillside, directing evacuation drones while shouting into a handheld communicator. His clothes were scorched, his face smeared with ash, eyes red from smoke and exhaustion. Yet he didn't leave. He kept waving people forward. "Move," he shouted. "You've got 2 minutes, go." Salith watched, transfixed. This was not a soldier, not a commander, just a human. And he was standing between fire and others, refusing to retreat. Middle. The truth beneath the flames-breaking protocol. When the hillside shifted, Salith acted without thinking. The ground collapsed under the human's feet as fire surged forward, wind screaming like a living thing. She dropped her cloak. To him, she must have appeared out of nowhere, tall, luminous, eyes glowing faintly as she grabbed him and pulled him back with strength no human possessed. They tumbled down the slope, landing hard behind a firebreak. The heat roared past them. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then the human stared at her. "Okay," he said hoarsely. "Either I'm hallucinating, or today just got a lot weirder." Salith released him slowly. "You are not hallucinating," she said. "My name is Salith Vora." He coughed, pushing himself upright. "Yeah, figures. I rescue people for a living, and now an alien saves me." "You are going to die," she said bluntly. He shrugged weakly. "Happens." She stared at him. Humans were impossible. A war that wasn't. They took shelter in an emergency bunker as fire swept overhead. The human, Ethan Cole, she learned, was a disaster response coordinator. His job was to predict, manage, and survive catastrophes. "This isn't war," he said, reading the confusion on her face. "It's prevention." "By burning your world?" Salith asked. "By saving it," he replied. He explained. Rising temperatures, decades of drought, unchecked growth, a convergence of climate factors pushing the planet toward a tipping point. "If we don't burn controlled sections now," Ethan said, "the fires will burn everything later." Unstoppable. Salith felt something cold settle in her chest. "You set these fires on purpose?" "Yes." "To save lives?" "Yes." "To save the planet?" "Yes." She thought of her own people, of pristine worlds maintained through rigid control, species culled or relocated when efficiency demanded it. Humans were doing the opposite. They were hurting themselves now to protect a future they might never see. What shocked her most? "What happens if you're wrong?" Salith asked. Ethan didn't hesitate. "Then we own it," he said. "We adapt. We try again." "You would risk billions on uncertainty?" He met her gaze. "We already have. Doing nothing is the real gamble." The flames outside roared like a living judgment. For the first time in centuries, Salith questioned everything she had been taught about civilization. The discovery Salith accessed orbital data through her internal systems. What she saw chilled her. Humanity was unknowingly countering a far greater threat. A stellar instability, solar output fluctuations interacting with planetary conditions, was accelerating climate collapse. Left unchecked, Earth would become uninhabitable within decades. The Volari had seen this pattern before. They usually intervened by evacuation or sterilization. "Your world is dying faster than you know," Salith said quietly. Ethan stared at her. "And you were just watching?" "Yes," she admitted. "Until today." He laughed bitterly. "Figures." The Volari decision Salith's ship received a transmission. The Concorde had detected her breach of protocol. They wanted a report. She sent data. All of it. Human resilience. Their strategies. Their refusal to surrender. The response came quickly. Recommendation. Non-intervention. Probability of failure exceeds acceptable limits. Prepare for containment measures. Containment meant quarantine. Or worse. Salith looked at Ethan, who was already preparing to go back out into the fire. "Why do you keep doing this?" she asked suddenly. He paused. "Because someone has to," he said. "And because this is home." Something broke inside her. A choice that changed everything. Salith transmitted a second message. Not a report. A declaration. Humanity must not be erased. The Concorde responded with fury. She ignored them. Instead, she shared the truth with Ethan about the solar instability, about the timelines, about what would happen if humanity failed. He listened in silence. Then he nodded. Okay, he said. Then we work faster. You don't understand, she said. You cannot win alone. He smiled tiredly. Good thing we're good at asking for help. The flames spread, and so did Hope. Salith broke every rule she had sworn to uphold. She gave humanity data, not technology, not weapons, knowledge, predictive models, stellar forecasts, long-term projections, enough to help them adapt, but not enough to control them. The Volari branded her a traitor. Humanity never knew her name, but they felt the difference. Years passed. The fires became fewer. The skies slowly cleared. Cities adapted. Ethan aged. Salith watched. Always watching. Always learning. Ending what the flames truly meant. The last fire decades later, Salith stood once more above Earth. The planet was scarred, but alive. Green returned where ash once fell. Ocean stabilized. Humanity endured, not because they were perfect, but because they refused to quit. The Concorde reconvened. They expected regret. Salith felt none. You thought the flames meant war, one elder said. You were mistaken. No, Salith replied. I thought they meant destruction. She gestured to the planet below. They meant sacrifice. A final visit. Ethan was old now. They sat together on a hillside that had once burned. Grass waved gently in the wind. So, he said, smiling weakly, did we pass your test? Salith shook her head. There was never a test, she said. Only a choice. He nodded, gazing at the horizon. When I first saw the fires, he murmured, I thought the world was ending. And now, she asked. He smiled. Now I know it was fighting to live. Legacy. When Ethan died, humanity mourned a hero. They never knew how close extinction had come. The Volari never intervened again. And Salith Vora, once an observer, became something unheard of among her people. An ally. Because sometimes flames don't mean war. Sometimes they mean hope.